Coming up on this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society, we have Zelda bind some words together to clear a path through this cold open. It's dangerous to go alone, so the Nintendo Cartridge Society goes with you. Welcome to Nintendo Cartridge Society. My name is Patrick Ellers, and I am joined, as I am always joined, by my co-host, Mark Mitchell. We've got a good show for you today. We're going to be talking about the news from the week, including details about The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom. And then on Thursday, we are comparing the promise of the Switch with the reality 8 years later. But Mark, in the meantime, how's it going?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, Patrick?
Okay, so I don't know if it can be heard in my voice, but you will probably hear it in the hacking cough that will appear from time to time here. I'm not feeling great, Mark.
I'm sorry to hear that. I will say I've been watching the new Batman animated show, and
Yes.
If
you're about to compare me to like Two-Face or something,
no, I'm not about to compare you to Two-Face.
okay.
I was
or
going to
the
say
Killer Croc.
not Killer Croc.
Okay.
But
or Clayface.
not Clayface either.
Okay, great.
There is a Batman. There's like a huskiness to your voice that has a little Batman in it.
Oh, I mean, I will take that. That is actually very that's actually very flattering. So thank you.
You're welcome.
If you would like to flatter us further, you could head on over to patreon.com/Nintendo Cartridge Society, where if you are supporting us at the 8 or 16-bit levels, you get access to new episodes of NCS Arcade because we're still doing it.
That's right. We just recently released an episode about Mega Man, Dr. Wily's Revenge, and Mega Man 5 on the Game Boy. And
we snuck in a second game.
That's right. And then for August, I'm excited to announce we're going to be playing Elite Beat Agents on the Nintendo DS.
Mark, this goes against the premise of what we thought NCS Arcade was.
That's right. Up to this point, we've been playing games that were available on Nintendo Switch Online and Nintendo Switch Online Plus expansion pack. But I've always really wanted to play this game. And when I was on that episode of Video Games, a Comedy Show, where we were drafting Nintendo DS games, this came up. A previous guest of the show, Michael Hearn, added this to his draft. And it's something I've always heard good things about. And so I have my game pack, and I am excited to be talking about this at the end of August.
Now, I believe that the DS games are called game carts, are they not?
Oh, you're probably
or
right.
Or cards, maybe? Card with
I think
a D?
It's probably cart. We
like,
should,
yeah,
on the one hand, we should know this.
Yes. Yeah. Because we did rank them all, and it was a devastating thing for us to explore and discover that we'd been calling things cartridges when there is no Nintendo cartridge.
Yeah,
whatsoever.
That's right. Yes.
Yes. Okay. Good.
I'm sorry. No, I'm googling.
I thought you were looking it up. Yes,
I am. I'm googling it, but all that's come up is DS flash carts, which is not exactly what I'm looking for.
That's not exactly. Yeah. I think it's game card.
Yeah. I need the nomenclature.
But so if you would like to play along with us for August, you can, I guess the only way to play this game is to have a physical copy of it and play it on your DS or your 3DS. Mark and I will both be playing it on 3DS because we don't have our DSs anymore. So that is how you do that. If you are following us for free on Patreon, you can get access to our listener feedback episodes. There's one of those coming out shortly about Mega Man, just as soon as we are well enough to be in person to record that. And then if you are supporting us at the 4-bit level, you get access to NCS Detective Club, and that is available to you right now. All 6 episodes of the first season are there for you right now. Mark, what have we discovered?
Yes, I believe that it is a game card, so I think you're right. I think you had it correct, yeah.
All right, very good. I love being correct, even if I can barely speak. And then if you are not in our Discord, you should get in there. Email us at nintendocartridgesociety@gmail.com. And we will send you an invitation. Then you can get in there and chat with all of us in real time, all the time. And then, of course, last thing to plug here is that the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle source book is in comic book stores right now. Issues 1 through 3. Issue 4 will come out on September 4th. Very exciting. So pre-order that now. And the collection comes out later, I think in January. I'm working on some of the like special stuff for the collection as we speak. Not as we speak, but like, today I did some working on it. I'll work more on it tomorrow. But so cool stuff being added for the collection.
I mean, it would kind of be impressive as you were recording this. Like, the reason you wanted to do it remotely is because you're like, no, I'm going to be simultaneously writing. So, like, when Mark talks, I look away and I'm typing. And then
that's right.
My cue to pick up the mic again is when Mark stops talking.
Mark stops talking, and I'm just like, yeah, and Zelda is... Mark, you have a note here that I did not notice was in our show notes.
Oh yeah, okay. So last week, in the news episode, you and I were talking about the Pokemon Company, and we vaguely knew the concept of the Pokemon Company and how it all fits together, but we didn't really know. And so I took it upon myself to try to educate myself on the Pokemon Company and the structure of the Pokemon Company and what the deal is with the Pokemon Company. The frustrating thing is, like, 6 months ago, I knew this information because I had just watched a YouTube video by John Cartwright on Good Vibes Gaming that was like, why, I think the title of it is like, why Pokemon will never leave Nintendo or something like that. And so I went back and dug up that video, and by dug it up, I mean I searched for it in YouTube, and I'll link to it in the show notes as well. So basically, and it's worth watching. This is a very abbreviated version of it. But basically, Game Freak, the creators of Game Freak, had the development company for Pokemon, had this idea for Pokemon, and they had a meeting with Nintendo, and Nintendo was like, that sounds great. We will, like, partner with you on that. And but it took Game Freak 6 years between that meeting and that agreement, and then the game actually coming out. And Game Freak, was struggling through all of that. But one of the founders of Game Freak had a relationship with Itoy from Ape, which is the company that developed Earthbound. And so when after Earthbound was out, Ape dissolved and became Creatures. And Creatures was like, we will fund you, Game Freak, if you give us 33% of the trademark for Pokemon. So that's how the three companies, Creatures, Game Freak, and Nintendo, each have 33%. And then when Pokemon blew up, they were like, this is too much work for us to do. So we're going to create the Pokemon Company, which we all own 33% of, to basically run and manage the Pokemon license. So, Game Freak designs the new Pokemon, the world develops the new games. Creatures, they create all the 3D models. They still do this to today. They create all the 3D models for all the Pokemon. The Pokemon Company is in charge of, like, marketing and licensing. The Nintendo is like the distribution arm. But here's what's interesting is that all three of them own equal shares of the Pokemon Company and of the Pokemon trademark. But Nintendo has bought additional shares in Creatures. Apparently they own like 10% of Creatures. So technically, it's not enough to...
Nintendo owns more of it than,
technically enough probably to, like, control it. Anyways, it's an interesting video. And now I'll remember this information for at least 6 months until we have to do this whole thing all over again.
Right. I mean, I think you forgot it probably like a month after you watched it the first time, right?
That's true.
We've just been,
true.
Yeah.
It didn't
We've just been
relevant.
living in like unquestioned ignorance for like 5 months, which I'm also okay with.
Yeah, I mean, Pokemon's just not our thing. What are we going to do?
Speaking of, I don't think we have it in our run of show, but there is a Pokemon Presents that's happening later this week on August 8th. six o'clock a.m., which is my least favorite time for anything. But I'm sure we will talk about that in some capacity on the next week's news episode, and that's probably a bigger deal for Pokemon heads. But also, I don't know, the Pokemon Presents, I feel like is always. So this one's going to be 35 minutes long. These things are always 20 minutes of updates on the mobile games. And then like a tease about something happening in like a TV show, and then maybe one nugget of information about the new games coming out. And we do have like an exciting new Pokemon game on the horizon, right? Like I wonder if this is where we'll get more info about Pokemon Legends ZA, or if that is still going to be in. I mean, it's August. I'm sorry, I'm spinning like right into like speculation and like news corner here. But like it's August. Next month is September. There's usually a direct in September. I don't anticipate there being a Nintendo Direct this September. What do you think?
I would be very surprised if there is, unless they're going to tell us about new hardware this early. Which maybe, I mean, I've been operating under the assumption that they are going to do the Switch thing again, where it's like they'll tell us in January, and then 3 months later, or like really like 2 months later, it'll be released. Or, maybe they'll wait till a little bit later if but we know we're going to hear about the new hardware before the end of March 2025.
Right, but that's also like at the latest. I still think the thing that they have to navigate around here is Christmas, right?
Totally.
We'll get to it a little bit more when we get into the news proper. But I think they still want to have a good like sales, like Switch hardware sales for Christmas, and like doing the full blowout on whatever the next thing is before that is just going to cannibalize that. So
I also think that like you were saying, like a Pokemon Presents could have zero game news and zero like new Switch game information, and it could still be a robust 35 minutes because they have so much other stuff going on. They've got to talk about Pokemon Sleep at some point. Again,
do they? It already came out. Why talk about it anymore?
I don't know. That we still get updates for the like cafe remix. So, I'm sure they'll add some new features to Pokemon Sleep.
They'll be celebrating the 5.5-year anniversary of all these mobile games. All right, Mark. Let's get into what we've been playing this week. So it looks like we have both already gotten our hands on our copies of Elite Beat Agents and have been playing it. Obviously we don't want to talk too much about our experience doing that now, because we will have to record an episode on it in a couple weeks. But I just want to say, like, first impressions, pretty good. I'm having fun.
Can I tell you that it's with great sadness that I share with you that my original Nintendo 3DS XL, I think, is on its last legs.
Oh no, Mark.
Which is really devastating news, because last week you and I off mic, I was expressing how like expensive the Nintendo, like new Nintendo 3DSs are, and how like I don't want to buy one, but sometimes I think like that may end up being
you just have
the option. So it boots up, and I replaced the battery because I thought maybe it was the battery. So I replaced the battery like around Christmas time, I think, and but now it charges, but it doesn't hold a charge for very long. And then if I try to open it up from sleep, it's just like black. I have to turn off I have to like restart my 3DS. So it's like sleep mode doesn't work anymore. And I was looking on Nintendo's help articles, and it's basically like, you have to send it in. By the way, we don't service original Nintendo 3DS XLs anymore. So I am hoping that I can, get through this game, like playing the Elite Beat Agents without having to buy a new one. But I have all of this stuff on the Nintendo 3DS that I bought when the eShop was closing, that I've never played, that I
Right.
don't want to just have it be lost to me forever. So I don't really know what I'm going to do. But every time I turn it on, I'm just worried that it's not going to boot up.
Well, so one thing that I do worry about as I play Elite Beat Agents is you got to be kind of like rough with your screen, right? With the touch
Right.
screen.
Yeah.
Like there's just a lot of like jabbing it as like precisely as possible. So maybe what you do, Mark, is you secure like a new 3DS, right? A new 3DS XL, maybe a new 2DS. And just have that ready to go for as soon as you're done playing Elite Beat Agents, so that you can really beat the crap out of your existing one, and then we can transfer everything over to your new system.
That's right. The other thing with it is that I bought, just like a used game card,
As did
and
I,
it
yes.
had somebody else's game on it, and I, for
Same.
the life of me, could not figure out how to get rid of that information. So I had to Google it.
I did the exact same thing. It's in the instruction booklet, which I got as like my game was complete like in box, but I also Googled the information because there's nowhere you can't just like go into options and like delete save data. You have to, as it's booting up, hold L R A B X and Y at the same time for like a second, and then it's like delete all data. But yeah, I was also kind of like, wait, is there no way to delete this information?
Also, I was just because I didn't even think about it at first, so I turned it on and I went to
Right.
play like what I thought was the first mission. I'm like, there's no way that this is just what they're throwing me into. Like,
Right,
there
right.
must be some preamble to all this. I mine copy did not come with the instruction booklet, but it did
Oh,
come with a Nintendo Power insert to like subscribe to Nintendo. Yeah. Um
cool.
so I do have that.
Cool. You should try it. Mail it in. See what happens. And then other than Elite Beat Agents, I'm still checking in on the old Nintendo World Championships that play those tournaments every week. I usually now score in like the 40th or like low 40, high 30th percentile on each of those. And some of that just like tenth of a second shaving. I'm just like not super interested in. Mark, did you watch the 100-meter men's sprint at the Olympics,
Yeah, I did.
where Lyles wins by a half of a hundredth of a second.
Yes, yeah, I did watch that.
That's what Nintendo World Championships NES Edition feels like to me, where I'm like, I don't the amount of discipline I would have to apply myself to shave off a half of a hundredth of a second is just it's too much. So I'm having fun playing it, but I'm never going to be like top tier at it. I don't think.
I have not submitted scores to like the weekly championship thing other
Yeah.
than the first time. Have you noticed like do you have a difference in your placement between like the entire world and people in your birth year? Like do you perform better with
Not
people in your birth
really.
year? Yeah.
I think it's about the same, which like makes sense, right? Like it's all just there're gonna be so many people contributing scores that like I don't know. I feel like it's kind of a wash, that like some people who were born in 1982 are going to be NES freaks, and some of them are like super casual, and some of them have
Yeah,
old dumb
that's true.
thumbs like me. So like I don't know. I feel like it's all just a wash there.
Yeah,
I
that
still
makes
wish
sense.
I still wish it would let you compare with like people on your friends list or and anything like that. I just wish that there was because dividing it up by your birth year is like great. What else do I have in common with these people? Right? We were all
Right.
born the year Thriller came out. Okay, who cares?
Maybe they should really drill it down to like uh astrological sign.
There we go.
So
Yes. How am I doing against the rest of the Virgos? I want to know. And then just because I have become now just like unendingly interested in them, I've been playing Mega Man 4 on the Game Boy on Nintendo Switch Online. Because it's I don't know it's amazing to me how these are like competent for the most part executions of Mega Man games just in a format that most people haven't really played and have never really been collected in any way except for now that Nintendo put them all on NSO, which is super cool. Every time they make a weird decision for Nintendo Switch Online, um, we have that moment of like, who's this for? Why are they doing this? But it's almost like the weirder the decision, the better, you know?
Oh yeah, a Quest for Camelot. We live for those days.
Have you turned Quest for Camelot on?
I haven't. I have not.
It is inscrutable. It's so bad. We'll play like 5 minutes of it one day and then talk about it on the show. But I honestly I don't. If we were to like do it for NCS Arcade, I don't know what we would do. It would be the worst month of our lives, I think.
Worse than Jet Set? No.
Jet Force Gemini.
Jet Force Gemini.
Yeah. Yes, I think so. I think it's probably a worse game.
Yikes.
Yeah, yikes. Mark, anything else you've been playing this week, or really just Elite Beat Agents?
Really just Elite Beat.
Cool. All right. Let's. That's what we've been playing. That's what we. That's what we were playing last week. Let's get into the new releases and what we might be playing next week.
Today, Tuesday, August 6th, Natsumon 20th Century Summer Kid is released digitally. So this is a game that was just recently announced a couple of weeks ago. There's a demo for it. I think it's NIS America who is localizing it or publishing it outside of Japan. So this is from a developer called Millennium Kitchen, and I've never played any of their games before, but they are behind a series that was on the PlayStation called Boku no Natsuyasumi, and it's this like slice of life. You're a child in Japan and it's summertime, and it's just supposed to be like a really great chill hangout game. And this seems like a similar sort of thing. So you play as a kid, it's summertime, a circus comes to your town. There you're just kind of like hanging out, talking to people, and so there's a demo available that I haven't checked out yet. Demo, the full progress goes to the game, but I don't know, that sort of like slice of life, end of summer, I don't know, it seems like it could be fun.
That that series, the Boku no Natsuyasumi, I've seen the Tim Rogers Action Button review of the original trilogy of those, and he speaks very highly of them. And I don't always agree with Tim Rogers' assessment of games, but I love the way he talks about games. So that does have me interested then to check this out. Natsumon 20th Century Summer Kid. Okay, got it.
And then the speaking of my poor Nintendo 3DS, the same developers created this game called Attack of the Friday Monsters, which was on lists of like eShop originals that you should buy that were coming out when the eShop was shutting down on the 3DS. So I did buy it, but I've never turned it on.
Whoa.
And so just another reason why I have to keep that thing alive in one form or another.
Yeah, you got to save it. I mean, you wouldn't have to re-download anything if you've got everything like downloaded onto the card, right? Onto your memory card?
So I think that's true, but there is a transfer process. Like
there is a transfer process.
You have to transfer like the licenses or something.
Right, like the soul of the system. But if you are also then moving the memory card over, it should be okay.
Yeah, I think my 3DS just has to stay alive long enough for me to be able to do that like license transfer process.
Right.
Pray for me.
You better get on it, Mark.
I know.
But you know what? You could do that, and then I was saying like just hope that the like wait until you're done playing Elite Beat Agents, but that's just on a card. You could play that on either 3DS.
Oh, you're right. There's no reason I need to have like my Nintendo account associated with it or anything. Yeah, that's a good point. Oof. All right, maybe I'm gonna go spend. I don't even want to know how much money for a. It won't even be a new 3DS. I'll probably just buy a used one, and it'll still cost like $500 or something insane like that.
Right, but you do want the system that is the new 3DS, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
You want a used new 3DS.
That's correct. Yeah, that's the plan.
Oh, you can do this for like $240.
Okay.
$250, $200. You can do this.
Okay, that's not that bad.
You can, Mark. I believe in you.
It's an investment in my future.
Absolutely.
Okay, there we go.
I would say it's absolutely an investment in your future. Now, if you want like a specific one, it may set you back some money.
No, I don't really care. Like, I don't need like a special edition or anything.
Okay. All right. So you don't need the new like the Super Mario Brothers one that I have. Oh God, it goes for $350 right now.
Yeah, no, I don't. Well, but here, okay, I
Yeah.
don't. I don't. I absolutely do not need it. But I'm also like, well, I said I didn't need a new 3DS at all,
Right. Right. And
so
now
I
you
didn't,
do.
and so I didn't
Right.
buy one when I had the chance, and now I'm. So what if in the future? Now this is a dangerous road, but I'm
Yep.
like, no. Turns out for some reason that I can't fathom at the moment, I do in fact need that Mario new 3DS.
Right. Or okay, here's what we do. You get the Pokemon 20th anniversary Red and Blue edition of the
No.
new 3DS. It's only $1,500.
Okay, I'm listening. Yeah, so maybe I th- yeah, I don't know.
Just think of it
I
as an investment.
yeah, that's right. And then on Thursday, August 8th, SteamWorld Heist 2 is released and also Cat Quest 3. And then on Friday, August 9th, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon Red Rescue Team is coming to Nintendo Switch Online plus expansion pack.
Another non-mainline Pokemon, but a Pokemon game coming to Nintendo Switch Online. I had posed the question on the Discord. Where's Blue Rescue Team? Blue was the same version of this game that was on the DS. So they released Red on Red Team on Red Rescue Team on GBA and Blue Rescue Team on DS, and like they released simultaneously, but it was just their way of putting the same game on the two actives. You know, there's still when they're like separate pillars of Nintendo's strategy. So, and I think this is the only time they did something like that, where they put like multiple, like the two different versions of a Pokemon game on like actual different generations of console because they were both going concerns at the same time.
That's pretty crazy. Especially, I mean, when you think about it, the Game Boy Advance's life was so short. Released in 2001.
Yeah,
Um,
unbelievably short. Yeah.
Nintendo DS comes out just a few years later and is pretty quickly a smash hit. And they're like, "See you later, Game Boy Advance."
Right. And you know that's we love you, Game Boy Advance, but get out of here, get out of here.
Do you know what I always forget about these Mystery Dungeon games is that you transform into a Pokemon.
That's right.
You're not playing as a trainer. It's like, no, you, the
You,
player, you
you're a
got
Pokemon.
transformed into
Yeah,
this Pokemon of your choosing. I think there's like some you can choose from.
yeah.
Is that right?
You can either choose, or I think they let you do like a personality quiz, and they just like make
That's
you one. Yeah,
okay. I played the demo for the one that came out on Switch, which may
right.
or may not have been a remake. I honestly can't.
Yeah, it was. It
Yeah,
was right. It was like a combination of the two games, I
was
believe.
that in 2020? Do you know what? It doesn't matter.
It
We're
doesn't
not
matter.
Pokemon people.
No, that's right. And we release ourselves of that responsibility to know this information or to even look it up. All right, Mark, let's get out of the new releases. Which brings us to a regular segment on our show. It is time for 433. Or at least it would be if I didn't sound like this. We're going to skip 433 for today. Mark, that's okay, right?
Yeah, I think you are doing a great job, but it seems cruel. Like
Yeah.
me even talking, the longer I talk, the worse I'd feel. So I'm finishing this thought and then we can move on.
Great. Okay, so we were accompanied today by no one. We didn't do 433. Mark, let's get into the news.
Yesterday, a new The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom trailer dropped. It was called Traversing Hyrule, and it gave
Uh-huh.
6 minutes of new information on The Legend of Zelda Echoes of Wisdom, which we are only a little over or a little less than 2 months away from.
Loved this trailer. Loved getting to, because like we see just this like very there's a lot to explain in like the introduction of the game, right? Of like, here's a new Zelda game. It's in the Link's Awakening style. You're like, cool. okay, you play as Zelda, and you're like, oh, and it's like she duplicates things, and you're like, what's going on? And then they're like, gotta go, talk to you later. And now we get like 6 minutes of actually like what the moment to moment gameplay is going to be like, who occupies this world, what can Zelda do. We're getting information about new abilities that make it seem like the ability to copy stuff is just the beginning of like Zelda's arsenal of abilities. I'm very excited. I was already hyped for this game, but now I'm like, yeah, this could be like a genuine heavy hitter for Nintendo this year.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think that for 2D Zelda is always going to have, well, I shouldn't say always, but like seems like it's going to have a limit on the number of people that will be interested in it versus, like a 3D open world game like Breath of the Wild or Tears of the
Yeah,
Kingdom. But when this was first revealed and it has the art style of Link's Awakening, I guess even when they were showing us like echoes and stuff like that, in my head I was like, "Oh, there is going to be a limit to the scope because it's locked into that Link's Awakening
sure.
world or engine or whatever you want to call it." But I feel like the Link's Awakening thing is not to its detriment, but I think is set the wrong idea in my head at least, because this seems like it is using the art style and nothing else about Link's
Yeah,
Awakening.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Because this is totally like blowing up the world. I wonder if it's even using like the same engine or bones or whatever. Like it just seems like this is truly taking so many ideas from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom and incorporating them into the world of 2D Zelda.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And like, it's even for as much as we see in this trailer, and we'll go through like the bullet points of it in a minute here. But it's still amazing to me like how much of this game we genuinely don't know. Are there dungeons in this game?
Right. Do
We don't know.
rifts replace dungeons, or is it just like a whole, is it like the Dark World equivalent?
Yeah,
They showed us a new ability. Are there going to be other ones, or is it just going to be the
right.
two? Yeah, it feels like it's interesting because it feels like it could be either way, and either way seemed like it would be enough. Like
Yeah,
when we saw some of those trailers for Tears of the Kingdom, even Nintendo themselves acknowledged, oh, we got to put out this thing about Numa playing the game to make people understand
right.
what this is. But even when it was just echoes, it was like, okay, that seems like enough to make a game on its own. And now they showed us Bind, and it's like, okay, between Bind and Reverse Bond and Echoes, this seems like plenty, but maybe there is
Is
more.
there more? Who
Yeah.
knows? We don't know. Yeah.
All right, so let's go through it. So they start with like an overview of Hyrule, and they show Hyrule Castle and Castle Town, but then there's also the Gerudo Desert, and we see
Populated by the Gerudo. Yep.
that's right. This place called Jabul Waters, which has both sea and river Zora, which we saw in that initial trailer.
But cool to hear them acknowledging like these are different kinds of Zora and they have like a problem with each other.
Uh-huh. Elden Volcano that has the Kakariko Village, but also Gorons and Rock Roast that both make an appearance here.
Very cool.
The Faron Wetlands where the Deku Scrubs are hanging out.
Yeah, and it's neat that is that Farron isn't like woods in this; it is wetlands. Just like a slight little like tweak to the formula, almost making the scrubs a little bit more like they appear in Majora's Mask. But yeah, it's just nice to see like all of these components like kind of remixed from previous Zelda games and like presented here. I don't know. I love the Zelda mythology so much, and just seeing it presented in a new way is super fun.
Yeah, and I think that's like a fun thing about this as well is it doesn't seem like it's one specific Hyrule. It's not like a Link Between Worlds where you were very much in the Link to
Yes.
the Past Hyrule. It seems like the Breath of the Wild type thing where it's like, well, here's in Breath of the Wild on the Great Plateau you had this the ruins of a Temple of Time, and you're like, well, what is this doing here? Like, how did this get here?
Right,
And
right.
it seems like Echoes of Wisdom similarly is taking elements from all these different Zelda things and putting it together. And it's not necessarily like, oh, obviously we're in the Link to the Past world, or we're obviously here or there.
Right, right. Which, just means that like it just solidifies it as a like new mainline Zelda game, right? Which feels maybe like a reductive conclusion to draw, but like that's cool. I'm very excited for it. Also, interesting that they the Hyrule Castle town they call out is on top of a plateau. So like the idea of the plateau at the center of the map has returned from Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, and is maybe just like part of Zelda standard at this point.
Yeah. They also show off that you will have an adventure log, basically right out of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, in order to keep track of your side quests, and that, helping people will give you rewards. I mean, that I think is new to 2D Zelda, to have this adventure log
Yep.
that there are all these like side quests, because there were things in other 2D Zelda games, where you could collect something for somebody, but my I feel like a lot of it was all driving you towards like a specific item, or a like
Right.
furthering you in the quest, rather than, yeah, and this person's just going to give you some rupees or something to make a smoothie with, or something like that.
Yeah.
They showed off travel waypoints. So we had seen these in the trailer before. It's just a way to fast travel. But they're like, hey, fast travel is not the only way to get around. And they introduce horses.
We got horses. So them calling out both the waypoints and horses has me saying, "Hey, Mark, how big do you think this game is? Is this game huge?"
That's a great question, because why would you need a horse? Why would you need all of
Yeah.
these, like, I mean, there have been fast travel in other 2D Zelda games, but I do wonder. There's a little bit in the trailer where they show the world map, and it seems, and it's not like fully filled
Yeah, it's
out.
not filled out. Yeah.
But that also makes me wonder, like, why is there going to be some sort of, obviously not, maybe not a tower, but some sort of like that mechanic, like you have in
Totally.
Breath of the
Yeah.
Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where
And
there's
that's
something you
not
have to
something
do.
that
Yeah.
yeah. That's not something that we've seen in previous 2D Zelda games, right? Like you find the map of Hyrule and then you can see the entire map of Hyrule. That you have to unlock it piece by piece is now something new for this game.
Horses, like Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, it appears that there are multiple horses that you can have in the trailer. There's a brown one. She's also shown riding like a white one. I love that the way that you call your horse is you learn to make echoes of carrots, and then you create a carrot
Love it.
echo, and it tempts your horse over to you. It's just too good.
Yeah, it's too good. It won't let you just make an echo of the horse itself. You have to make an echo of a carrot, and the horse comes to that.
They also showed off like smoothies, right out of Ring Fit Adventure, and kind of
Mhm.
like cooking in Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom. You get different ingredients for the smoothies, and then when you make them together, they have when you mix it together, you can create different smoothies that have different abilities or power ups. They also showed that you'll be able to equip different outfits and accessories, so it doesn't look like is as extensive as Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, where like the tops, bottoms, and headpieces are different things. It looks like it's maybe just like one that changes everything, but again, pretty cool.
Yeah, and it's I tried to like pause it on the menus as they were showing them. The accessories definitely convey different like stat boosts and like status changes. Like you can dive a little bit deeper with the Zora scale or whatever. And it's unclear to me if the outfits also convey stat changes or if the outfits are purely cosmetic. It didn't look like there was a lot of outfits that like just in the screenshot that we saw, it looked like there was maybe room for like 5 outfits. I'm hoping there's more, and maybe those are just like the 5 that you carry with you at one time. But yeah, I mean, if we can, as pointed out by Julette in the Discord, but like if this is a game about riding horses and putting on outfits, like I'm very excited here.
Yeah, you could do a lot worse.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And then they showed off the new ability called Bind, and this is similar to Ultra Hand in Tears of the Kingdom or like Magnesis. Like they show Zelda using it to pick up a giant pile of rocks and moving it out of the way, or there's a treasure chest that's stuck in the ground and using this bind ability to grab the treasure chest and pull it out. But in addition to that, it has additional uses. So it can be used on echoes, and they show her like using it on a Goron, and then the Goron is rolling, and she's being pulled by the Goron when she is using bind on it.
So that's the reverse bond.
The reverse bond is doing
when
that.
you are being moved by the object, that's a reverse bond. When you are moving the object, that's bind. So like they showed her using bind where she would like grab an enemy and then like they would move together and then she would position herself so that the enemy is like over a cliff and then let go.
Oh, got it.
So yeah, bind and reverse bond are kind of like complementary abilities that like either help you manipulate the world or help you get around in the same way that the other creatures in the world are getting around.
Yeah, so with reverse bond, you can like hook onto a bird, or there's like a spider that she hooks onto and it climbs up the wall and takes her with it.
This
So
is all incredibly cool, and we're gonna learn so many different like behaviors of these things, and like how there's gonna be 1,000 different ways to like get across a river or up a mountainside or to the other side of some lava or whatever. And I can't wait for us all to find our own separate solutions. It's gonna be so cool, Mark.
yeah, and to your point earlier about like we don't really know the structure of this game, it seems unlikely to me that this is going to be linear. But
Right?
will it be like Breath of the Wild where you can jump into a rift or something and try to take on the bad guy immediately, so speed runs of this I think are also going to get super crazy, which should be a lot of
Yeah,
fun. So
very
yeah,
excited.
I was already hyped for Echoes of Wisdom, but this trailer just kind of put it over the top. This game looked like it's going to be incredible. I know we've said it before, but it really does just make me feel like Princess Peach Showtime was such a missed opportunity.
Yeah, yeah.
But the Year of the Ladies continues unabated, and Echoes of Wisdom releases on September 26th, so we're really close.
And of course, Hot NES Summer continues. And are we also we're in Famicom Detective Club month, right?
Right, yeah, yes,
Right.
that's
Yeah.
right.
All these things are
That's right.
happening at once. Yep.
That's right. Last week, Nintendo announced their financial results for the first quarter of the 2025 fiscal year. And for context, the same quarter last year included not only the Super Mario Brothers movie being released, but also the launch of Tears of the Kingdom. So it's not going to shock you to learn that Nintendo's earnings this year were way, way down. Like net
Yeah.
profit was down 55% compared to last year. The only part of the business that grew was their others category, that includes merchandise sales at official stores, and that was up 43%, but is a small part of their overall business. Um,
Yeah. The others, that's also like Ben and Tom and Ethan, right?
that's right. My Lost rewatch continues unabated. I've been doing my best not to turn this into Lost talk, but
sorry.
but yes, that is definitely true. The video game business was down 47%, and the mobile and IP business was down by about 54%. Still,
Even
sorry.
with the various Super Mario Run events and promotions that they've been doing,
Can you believe it? I know.
it's just not driving business.
Well, think how much more down it would be if they weren't doing those Super
That's a great
Mario Run
point.
events.
Yeah.
Still, Nintendo said they're not changing their forecast for the entire fiscal year, which includes selling 15 million Switches. In this last quarter, they sold 2.10 million for a total of 143.42, 143,420,000 Switches sold, which is not bad. 2.10 million is not bad for its 8th year of release. But I don't know what they're going to do. The software lineup is strong to a
Ish.
degree. Like,
Yeah.
like it's not
I wouldn't say that
bad.
it's strong. It's not strong, but it is not catastrophic. But yeah, I mean, I'm obviously buying one in September. So there's one, and I know I'm not the only one. Because I'm buying the Hyrule edition, coming out alongside Echoes of Wisdom. But yeah, it does seem like, how are they going to close that gap and sell another like 13 million Switches before the end of the year?
And maybe we will see a discount. I don't know.
I don't know.
And would like $50 off a Switch make that much of a difference? I just
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, maybe for like a Switch Lite, if like you're buying a second one for your household or for like a kid or something, spending $150 on it instead of 200, like I could see that making a pretty big difference.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. And I think, this goes back to what we were talking about at the top of the show, where is Nintendo going to want to step on their own feet by talking about the new Nintendo hardware just before the quarter that they really need to sell a lot of Switches in order to hit their yearly forecast?
I mean, I don't think so. I think at 143 million, almost 143 and a half, that they're so close to the like 160 something of the PlayStation 2 and like the best selling console of all time. I think they at this point, wouldn't you just want to get there? Wouldn't you want to get there?
Yeah. I mean, yes.
Maybe it doesn't matter like in the long run, but like also just like sell more Switches, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're right that I think we probably think about that 160 million mark more than they think about it. But also like the 3DS died surprisingly quickly once the Switch was released.
Yes.
I wonder if that'll happen again, or if the Switch will, continue to sell for a few years into the new hardware's life.
I mean, the kind of key difference is that like they're going to continue to make games that run on the original Switch, because it's gonna be backwards compatible, right? Like, I think it kind of has to be. They could still surprise us and have Switch 2 not be backwards compatible, but if there are 145 million Switches in the wild, you can't ignore that audience. It's too big to ignore. So like, yeah, I mean, they'll continue to support the platform for at least another like 2 or 3 years. So yeah, they'll continue to sell these things for a while.
I also think to me, it feels like the takeaway of this is, in addition to coming off, the Tears of the Kingdom, Super Mario Brothers movie year,
Right.
it's a treading water year for the Switch.
It's a refractory period, yes.
Yeah, everybody, including Nintendo, is just kind of biding time until they're ready to show off the new hardware. We did get some sale information on Paper Mario: The Thousand Year Door, which sold 1.76 million copies so far, and Luigi's Mansion 2 HD with 1.19 million copies.
Which you and I both loved.
Yes, we did. And then we also know that one third-party game sold over 1 million units in the 3-month period that this was tracking. Probably Minecraft. That's just purely a guess, but seems like a possible contender.
Did Nintendo themselves say, and one third-party game sold over 1 million copies, and then didn't elaborate?
Yeah, and they never do.
Cool.
But in all of their reporting, they say the first-party titles that have, and then they note how many third-party titles do, but they never say which third-party titles like cross that threshold.
Gotcha.
And that's just, sold over 1 million again, like in that specific period. And then, but they did have a note about Princess Peach Showtime saying that it is sold through to consumers over 1.3 million units, and that sell through during this fiscal year. So Nintendo's fiscal year ends at the end of March. So Princess Peach Showtime was released last fiscal year for Nintendo, But they note that in this fiscal year, so starting in April 1st, it's accounted for approximately half of that 1.3 million total. And so they expect it to do well in the long term because it's being enjoyed by people who they say don't usually play action games.
And sort of just the narrative of when those 1.3 million units were sold. If half of them were this fiscal year, that means that it wasn't the same like Nintendo day one hardcores buying it on release day and then trailing off immediately. It seems like there was a sort of like staggered or even just like a steady people just buying it over the course of the weeks after its launch. I'm not really sure what like how to account for that. Like, it can't possibly be that like word of mouth was good for it, right? Or is it just like it just looks like an evergreen title, and like you see Princess Peach, and you're like, oh, that'll be fine. I'll pick that up for a kid or whatever.
I think it's probably that latter part. Like, it's not a surprise that there wasn't a stampede of people,
Yeah.
rushing out to buy a game day one. It's definitely not like a Tears of the Kingdom or even a Super Mario Brothers Wonder. But yeah, I mean, it's a new Princess Peach game where you get to play as Princess Peach, and um, that's definitely attractive, and so I'm sure people are seeing that on shelves.
Yeah.
Just normal consumers, not necessarily enthusiasts, who are buying gifts or picking up a Switch and all that kind of stuff, and are checking it out. Monolith Soft, the Nintendo-owned developer of the Xenoblade Chronicles series, has put out a hiring announcement for a new RPG being directed by studio founder Tetsuya Takahashi. They're recruiting for 8 roles, including a 2D designer, 3D designers, environment engineers, and more. But the Takahashi has this message on the Monolith Soft website. It's a recruitment message, and I feel it makes special mention that you really need to be able to contribute in many different fields. And I from his recruitment message specifically, quote, as I mentioned in the previous recruitment, Monolith Soft has been producing games with a small number of people compared to the scale of the titles we make. This was something we were proud of, but the current situation in the gaming scene means that we can no longer say so. For example, the days of using human wave tactics to produce a large amount of material have long since come to an end, and it has become commonplace to provide an efficient production environment.
Human wave tactics.
Yeah,
That's got to be some kind of hilarious mistranslation.
For sure. Yeah, but I think like the message of it is, I think it's notable in the context of Nintendo's next system, right? That
Sure.
They're going to be working with more hardware power, and with that just comes more development resources. And we've seen this, in the entire gaming industry, but that it just takes more and more people to make these games. But in Nintendo, they are constantly hiring. They are building a new building. They are building a new headquarters building, and
Yes.
even before it started construction, they had to add more floors to it because they anticipate having more employees. We've seen Game Freak looking to hire 40 new positions, and they have about 200 devs right now, so that's like 20% growth.
That's huge.
And even that is like a 200 people. That's a tiny studio.
That's a small team. Yeah.
Yeah, in today's gaming environment. So it's just it's not surprising to see these other Nintendo associated developers also trying to ramp up as this new hardware is looming.
Yeah, and that's the sort of like smaller teams and the like not striving for the same sort of like graphical fidelity that we see across the industry at the other big publishers. That's one of the things that we've like kind of praised Nintendo for, or at least pointed out as like part of the engine of their success, is that it does not cost them the same to develop a AAA game. A AAA by Nintendo standards is different than like if PlayStation is or Xbox is putting one out, and just that like managing those expectations Nintendo's been really good at. And I just wonder if like as the years have gone on, developing at the Switch scale, that they're starting to see like consumer reaction to their products now being a little bit like, I don't know if this isn't one of like the really good ones that it might feel a little too janky for 2024, 2025, and on into the future. So I hope they don't go too nuts here, but it is also like Game Freak. Yeah, you should have at least 40 new programmers, right?
I also think some of it is just like delaying the inevitable, where
Totally.
Nintendo's advantage now is that they're, we'll just say, roughly a generation behind. Where
Sure.
do you know what I mean? Where just like
Yes.
with going from the Wii to the Wii U, Nintendo had a lot of growing pains learning HD development, but they just did it a generation after everybody else did.
Right.
And here it's like they do get that economy of not having to work on the bleeding edge like Sony's first party developers do, but they will eventually have to, unless, they're just kind
Well,
of like
yes.
delaying it.
They'll just have to get to where the bleeding edge was 3 years ago, right? Like they'll have to get there in the next couple years. They'll have to get to that marker that was revolutionary. That God of War Ragnarok level of like graphical fidelity. Well, everyone else has moved on to something even more incredible. But to even compete, I think they'll have to get closer to that.
But to your point, they'll have like 3 years of technological improvements. Like they'll
Yeah,
benefit from all of that.
agreed.
The rumors for the next Switch hardware that it'll use DLSS. I think that's what it's called. I don't even really understand what it is, but it's like some sort of programming um trick that helps scale games up to 4K by using like AI or something
Machine
to
learning. Yeah, we
yeah,
don't
to
know.
like understand what the frame, like the buffer frame should be, something like that. That's something that Nintendo can take advantage of, like you said, to make their games look better without necessarily having to incur the cost of 4K development.
Right.
And as long as we're talking about Xenoblade and the financial results called, the Xenoblade Chronicle series has sold 6,560,000 units on Nintendo Switch, making it the 23rd best-selling JRPG series of all time.
I love this as a stat. 23rd best-selling JRPG series. Hilarious. I love it.
Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition, the definitive edition of the first game that was released a couple of years ago, that Patrick bought and maybe played
Okay,
for a
now
little
come
bit.
on. I mean, you're right, of course, but it did come out in 2020.
Yeah, and I'm not. That's not derision. I haven't bought any of these.
Oh, it
And
wasn't derision? That wasn't derision.
1,910,000. Xenoblade Chronicles 2, 2,740,000, and then Xenoblade Chronicles 3, 1,910,000. The same exact amount as I mean, I'm sure there's rounding in there, but a very similar amount
Yes,
as
a very similar
Definitive
amount,
Edition.
yeah.
Yeah.
Which like makes sense, right? Because Xenoblade Chronicles 2, even though it is the sequel, was the first one of these games to come out on Switch. So, there's some sort of like game scarcity that was like driving that, right? This came out the end of 2017. So I think it was like a big deal for that time. And then the rest of these are just like, yeah, you're landing the Xenoblade Chronicles audience for the definitive edition and for 3.
There's a new Tetris 99 Maximus Cup that'll be celebrating Splatoon
Yep. Yep.
Splatoon 3's side order DLC. It runs August 16th through 20th, and just like all the other Maximus Cups, when you earn 100 points by playing Tetris 99, you get the theme for your very own.
So this is what, the 42nd Tetris Maximus Cup? 45th? Which is this? We're not quite to 50 yet.
I think it's 42. I think it's 42.
I love that they keep doing these. Mark, I hope they never stop, but I know that they will. For whatever reason, seeing this one reminded me that like keeping this game going and adding new Tetris Maximus Cups are a reflection of like effort and money spend, and at some point they're going to stop with that effort and that money spend, and I'm scared for that day.
I wonder if they see it as like a marketing expense, and maybe
Yeah,
that
maybe.
works. Maybe that will work in your favor, because we had a Tetris 99 has been doing Maximus Cups long enough that we had a Splatoon 2 Maximus Cup, which is still my default theme when I play the game,
Yep.
not during a Maximus Cup, because I love that one so much, and I'm excited to see what this one is. But yeah, I
Well,
think
we've also had a Splatoon 3 one. This is specifically for Splatoon 3 side order.
oh, probably. Yeah, there's been so
Yeah.
many of them.
Yeah.
I can't even remember. There's been like 15 Kirby ones. I bet
That's
like
right.
a good third at least of the Maximus Cups have been Kirby themed. And finally, this was noted by Vooks.net, which is an Australian Nintendo fan site. Over a year after its release, Everybody 1-2 Switch topped the Australian video game sales chart for a week at the end of July.
Huh?
Yeah, not just that, but Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp was number 7 in that same week. Just out of nowhere, Everybody 1-2 Switch was the best-selling game of the week, and Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp was number 7. And as far as they could tell, there wasn't like any major retailer discount or giveaway or anything. So it remains a mystery. They speculate that maybe it was like a business to business sale, and like Costco or somebody was buying up a bunch of them for Black Friday discounts or something like that, but it remains a mystery. But for 1 week, Horse was king.
That's oh, Horse. Mark, have you turned Everybody 1-2 Switch on since we played it at my house after it was released?
No, but I don't think I talked about this before on the show. When I was visiting family last year, I have nieces and nephews who love the original the original 1-2 Switch, and so I sent them a copy of Everybody 1-2 Switch a few months ago, and they've really been enjoying it, as far as I know. So
incredible stuff, and I'll never understand it. So have you, the copy that you own of Everybody 1-2 Switch, have you ever opened it?
No, I've never. No, wait, have I opened it? I'm not sure.
Why would you have? Because we played my copy over here at my house. And if you've never played yours, why would you have opened it?
Yeah, I genuinely can't remember. I mean, everything you're saying makes sense, but I can't remember if I've opened it or not.
And then same deal, basically. Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp.
No, I didn't even buy Advance Wars 1+2 Reboot Camp.
I did. And I have not turned it on. So, we're the problem, right?
Such is life.
Such is life. All right, Mark, let's get out of the news. Okay, that is going to do it for this episode of Nintendo Cartridge Society. Thank you so much for listening. You can join our Discord if you have not already done so. Email us for an invitation, and I will send it to you. Anthony DeLuca made our logo. Our theme music is provided by 8-Bit Betty. You can get more of his music by going to 8bitbetty.com or by listening right now. For my co-host, Mark Mitchell, this is Patrick Ellers saying thank you for listening.